Hi there, my name is Nora Crone. I'm a violist in New York City, co-founder of the Till Project for string players, and a musician's vocal dystonia recovery advocate. And in today's video, I'm going to be sharing a fundamental principle for feeling good on the instrument, whether you're injured or not, which is the concept of finger, hand, and forearm alignment. If I could only offer one piece of information to dystonia sufferers, it would probably be this one, so please stick around to hear more. Before we get into that, I just want to say that if you're new here, you may want to check out some of my previous videos where I explain more about the process that helped me recover from dystonia. I'll leave some links down below, but in short, learning a system of playing called the Till approach with a violinist named Sophie Till helped me change my brain through movement, and as a result, my symptoms gradually disappeared. After 2 years of regular lessons, I returned to professional playing, and now I have the great honor of assisting others, primarily violists and violinists, in their recovery. All right, so finger, hand, forearm alignment. In the Till approach, we are very fond of using the principles of physical logic, the same physical logic that we use in our everyday movements, as the basis for instrumental technique. The technical and expressive demands of the music are by no means incompatible with a physical approach to playing that honors the needs of the body in a thorough and straightforward way. So one of the most interesting ways that we can learn about this idea is through the concept of 24-hour practice. And what I mean by that is observing in detail how we use our fingers, hands, and arms in daily life and applying that information to the instrument. The principle we're looking at today is finger, hand, and forearm alignment. So try this out with me. Just grab some objects, or if you have a few things nearby already, that's great. And you can just touch them one at a time. Nothing special, just touching them. You can arrange them so that they're far away from each other or close together, beside each other. And you can touch them, you can pick them up, hold them, examine them, and so on. And I'm guessing that none of you have any particular trouble doing this. So now I want you to go to an object, and when you get there, notice the relationship between your fingers, hand, wrist, and forearm. Without even thinking about it, the most likely scenario is that you brought your entire hand to the object with the wrist and forearm aligned behind it, which feels very stable. Now, if you want to touch the object with one finger rather than with the whole hand, you can do that. The forearm just aligns itself directly behind that finger. You can touch very lightly, or you can touch more deeply by sending energy through the forearm and through the aligned and resilient fulcrums of the arm, wrist, hand, and fingers into the surface. And all the while, it is very clear that the forearm is in charge of positioning the hand and fingers in space, as well as responsible for the depth of your touching. So if instead you go to the object and/or try and hold it with the fingers, hand, and forearm misaligned, either by breaking the wrist or twisting or pulling a finger out of alignment, you can immediately feel the sense of strain and instability. If you'd like, for the next few days, you can try noticing your fingers, hand, and forearm in daily life and see how much of the time they operate in alignment. The answer will probably be almost always. When they're not in alignment, we immediately feel it and instinctively correct it whenever possible, in the same way that we would notice if we twisted our ankle. So if we accept the premise that we are engineered to require the alignment of our fingers, hand, and forearm in daily movements, why would it be any different on the instrument? If our goal is to preserve the same kind of healthy, logical movement that allows us to feel good in general, then the question becomes, how are we going to do that? For the left arm, the answer has two parts. First, we need to understand the arm's fundamental orientation to the instrument, and then we need to understand how we are going to move on that instrument. So if you grab a book and hold it across your body with your left hand, and then throw your arm up to it underhanded like this, what do you notice? First of all, you might notice that your forearm actually has to spin around quite a bit in order to make stable contact with the surface of the book when you land. And that to do that, the upper arm actually needs to settle backwards and down. Second, you may notice, especially if you look at a mirror, that you have instinctively landed with an aligned finger, hand, and forearm unit, which makes the hand feel comfortable while grasping the book. You could also land on a finger, in which case the finger, hand, and forearm unit is simply aligned behind that single finger. Now, if you break the alignment of your wrist in any direction, you will immediately notice strain and possibly also gripping in your fingers. So if we repeat this experiment on the other side, what we see is that this is almost identical to the arm orientation that we need to land on the violin or the viola. And when we find what we call the fundamental forearm rotation to the instrument, we realize that we really need this orientation in the arm for the fingers to feel stably engaged with the strings, the same way they did on the surface of the book, instead of flying off in another direction. And there's our finger-hand forearm alignment. So if you suspect that this alignment is not present in your left arm, you can try a few different things. You can try falling up to the instrument with your right arm and feeling the fundamental rotation of the forearm that gives you that very stable, flat feeling of the hand on the strings. And then aiming for that same experience on the left side. You could try with the book. Or you could even get very creative and hold the book on the strings like this, and then take it away. Working with these types of exercises a few minutes at a time over days and weeks can actually produce remarkable changes in the brain and body. And that is, at least in my experience, the basis for focal dystonia recovery. So now that we understand how to bring the fundamental finger-hand forearm alignment to the instrument, the other how when it comes to the left arm is how can we maintain that alignment as we move from note to note? The quick and direct answer is that we have to let go. If you touch different spots on your face, between each one, you let go so that the arm can move and find its new location behind the next finger. This is equally true whether those spots are far away or close. On the Till Project YouTube channel, there are other videos that cover the moving mechanism of the left arm in more depth, which I'll link to down below. But if you can move your hand to different spots on your face, you've already got the basic idea. All right, so now that we've talked about the left arm, let's talk about how we can bring the experience of finger-hand forearm alignment to the right arm. So imagine picking up a small vial of liquid and then pouring it out. So this is the basic finger, hand, and forearm alignment for our right arm. Can you see that? It's actually great to just pick up something and see if you have the same experience on both sides. And if not, remember that you can always use the version that you want as the blueprint for your brain, almost pretending like you have two left arms in this case. If we rest this vial, or whatever it is, on a diagonal surface, like this, and move it around, what we notice very clearly is that we are moving from the forearm with the wrist, hand, and fingers aligned. Now, if you want, you can try breaking the wrist or moving from your fingers, and you will see how weird it feels. Now, if we want to move that vial or object in a straight line, almost like we were moving a toy car on a track, we can feel that all of the component parts of the arm, hand, and fingers adjust over the fulcrums of the feet and or sit bones to preserve that finger-hand forearm alignment while keeping the object moving along a straight path. With the bow, it's the same. So I've got my basic finger, hand, and forearm alignment, which I can then bring to the strings with that pouring motion. And I can move the bow from spot to spot along a trajectory with all of the component parts of my arm, hand, and fingers adjusting to preserve the basic finger, hand, forearm alignment. concerned about making smooth bow changes, I assure you that they are absolutely possible with this approach. There's a video about that, which I will link to down below. So that's it for today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone who you think could benefit from this information. If you want to know more about dystonia recovery, you can subscribe to my channel. And if you want to know more about healthy string playing in general, you can also subscribe to the Dill Project. I'm Nora Crone, and my website is www.noracrone.com. Thanks everyone. See you next time.